Hello, ladies and gentlemen. As you have no doubt seen from that little bit of footage I included at the beginning of this video, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a 28mm Gatling gun via kit bashing and conversion. So this is not a period-accurate Gatling gun by any stretch of the imagination. This is slapped together with 40K parts in a peri-miniature Civil War cannon. But why would you go for something like, why would you build something like this when certainly someone out there makes a scale Gatling gun? And yes, they do exist. The only problem is they're pretty much all made by British model manufacturers, and they're not readily available here in the States, which is a problem with a lot of these, with like Dead Man's Hand models and things like that. So Perry Miniatures makes a metal Gatling gun crew. The only problem is I can't find anyone here in the States that sells it. Second off, some companies like War Games Foundry make just the Gatling gun by itself, which would be fantastic if somebody sold it here in the States. Again, nobody does. And for the price in pounds, for what you would pay for that one model, plus the international shipping and the headache of that model, that one model getting lost in international shipping, it comes to about $30 or $40 for one model. Now, for $35 on Amazon, I found this. This is the Perry Miniature Civil War Artillery set. It's in 28mm true scale, not heroic. Doesn't really matter. So for the cost of that one model from War Games Foundry getting shipped out here to me, I can build from scratch and combining these, well, not from scratch, but by combining and converting and kit bashing these models together, we can create a Gatling gun. It will not be period accurate by any stretch of the means. It'll be something more akin to a steampunk abomination, but at least we can say this is a Gatling gun. And it will look like a Gatling gun from a distance, and that's what matters, right? So 28mm true scale is a lot different from 28mm hero scale, as you can no doubt see from these two 28. These are both in the same scaling. This guy just seems a little bit more chunkier and cartoony as compared to my true scale friend over here. That's because Perry Miniature is about historical accuracy, not the kind of Wild West action movie cowboys that you get with like artisan designs or the Great Escape Games model lines of many of these cowboy models that you will get. But regardless, for what they're worth, you can make 28mm true scale work for conversion. This is a artilleryman that I just slapped a couple of arms for the plastic gunfighter set. It doesn't look terrible. The man does seem to have some pretty big hands, but otherwise, if you're not looking too hard at it, he seems fine. You can also, through usage of other similar 28mm true scale arms, you can slap those on and then do some cutting and conversion work, like what I did for this revolver here off of that same kit, to create something that looks appropriate and his hands are insanely massive. So with this kit, I will be making 2 Gatling guns, a cannon. I get several artillery limbers, which make fantastic little wagons to have laying around your towns. And I get 18 28mm true scale models that I can create into townspeople and cavalrymen, which is fine. That is what I wanted them for, because I wanted a cavalry gang, quote unquote. But I didn't want to necessarily pay the prices to get my hands on some metal cavalrymen. So why not turn these crewmen, these artillery crewmen, into some frontier cavalrymen, as it were. But today I'm going to be showing you how to build one of these from scratch. And what you'll need, aside from one of the cannon sprues from the Perry Miniatures set, is 3 bits. Technically 4, but 3 bits. You're going to need, for the magazine off the bottom of this guy, is this Orc Shooter Arm. Now, I know that not everyone will have these bits lying around, but some of these bits should be readily available on eBay and will cost you a lot less than what it would cost to get your hands on one of these, metal period-accurate Gatling guns. So all you need this for is for the magazine. Okay, so that's what we need that for. Then you're going to need half of the Taurox dual Gatling gun kit from the Imperial Scions Taurox. Again, not a commonly used weapon option by the Imperial Scions, so should be readily available by bits resellers on eBay. Grab yourself one of these, and now you have your Gatling gun barrel. This is 2 pieces. These barrel pieces are on a little disc that you attach to this, and then when you cut it in half, you'll want to shave and round it off. And then, just for fun, for an aiming reticule, we're using this Orc aiming sight off an Orc Flash Gits set, or you could use one or you could completely forego one, because most of the time it seems that these guns didn't really have any sort of sighting mechanism that I can tell from looking at pictures of them, so I assume they were just kind of pointing them in the general direction of the enemy and cranking away and spraying. Now, a few things that you're probably going to use in different ways from what is advertised on these kits. Oh, also, you get some buckets. You get some buckets with these kits, so those will be handy for throwing around. But this little piece of the cannon's mounting or limber, whatever you would call it, will be turned into the crankshaft for your firing mechanism. You'll only need to use one of them from the kit, and then you can cut it in half, and you'll have 2 halves to create a firing crankshaft for 2 Gatling guns. That part typically goes here, center mounted. I used some gap filling putty in there just to clean up that gap, so it's not as noticeable. But I will be placing my unused one on this particular one, just because now I have it. But anyways, let's get to work. Oh, real quick, you're going to be using the 12-pound Parrot cannon from the kit. This one with the fat back. All right, so we're going to speed up our footage here, and I'm going to go play by play best I can to show you folks how I am building this. So what we're doing now is we're cutting all the pieces of the carriage out and sanding them down and rounding them off so that they're cleaned up and ready for assembly. It's important to cut when you cut these out of the sprue to get rid of the mold lines, get rid of your cut marks, just to soften them up so that they're look good once they're painted and there's obvious none of the manufacturing marks or tool marks left over once you've fully assembled a model. And then we're moving on to assembling the carriage. Once you have everything cleaned up, sanded, filed, all that, you get your plastic glue out, you put all the parts together, and pressure fit them so that you get the model assembled nice and easy. And this is all according to the instructions from Perry Miniatures before we get to the interesting part. So once that is constructed, we need to move on to cleaning up our cannon, which is again the 12-pounder Parrot cannon from the kit. And then we're going to start clipping pieces off, such as that back rounded ball at the end towards the fuse wick. Get that cut off, and then we're going to use our cutting mat as a straightening guide, and we're going to saw the barrel off. And once you've used your razor saw to cut through all the way through the barrel, then that is when you're going to sand and file away just to make sure that you've got a nice straight edge there, which we do. We're gonna move on. We're gonna dry fit, make sure everything lines up. Once everything's done there, we're gonna start carving up that Orc Shooter Arm to get at the magazine. We're gonna clip all the pieces off bit by bit, piece by piece, until there's nothing but the magazine left. You don't need to be too particularly careful with anything except for the area around the magazine. Again, just, you know, start tearing pieces off and clipping them out until you get to that mag. And then you want to be real careful once you've got the magazine cut. And I use these kind of rounded clippers so that I cut a trench that will allow me to line that magazine up against the rounded edge of the back of the cannon. And we're sanding that part of the magazine out so that we've got a nice rounded trench that will line up nicely again with the back of that cannon, so that when we putty this to the back of the cannon, it looks like the two were mated together. All right, so what we're moving on to now is assembling the barrel. And we're going to glue the cannon and the Gatling gun barrels together. And you're just using the regular plastic glue for this. Nothing too special. You're just going to glue these two pieces together and pressure fit them. And then you're going to glue it to the limber. And there you go. You've got the baseline down. Next, what I'm going to do is, just glue these down nice and tight. We don't want to use too much glue, but you want enough that they will hold a healthy and strong bond once the model is assembled. And there we go. Got them fitted together, and then we're going to attach the gun sight. I attach this to the gunner's side, and right about where the arm will go. Now, I had to tear the model apart and before the glue set to drill and tap the hole for the crankshaft. Yep, not always perfect, but yeah, you're just drilling away here, and you're gonna throw that crankshaft in, glue that crankshaft, or that crank firing shaft, into that hole that you just drilled with your pin vise. Get that set in, and then reattach the whole shebang together. And using a toothpick, if you got excess glue like what I usually do, sometimes you just use a toothpick to kind of scrape away. The wood won't adhere to the plastic cement, and it'll clean up a lot smoother. So there you go, get those two assembled, and we're back together and in business, and we're gonna start working on getting the magazine attached. Once I'm comfortable that the trench is deep enough and smooth enough that it will mate up with the back of the cannon nicely, we throw some putty onto that magazine, and then we use Tamiya thin cement with the putty to sculpt and thin it out so that it actually kind of mates the two together and they look like they're one homogeneous piece. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, and those of non-specification. Our custom-made Gatling gun in 28mm. A little rough around the edges, but with a bit of paint, this will look pretty good. Stay tuned for that video when we decide to paint these puppies up. Yeah. Following this guide with the appropriate parts, you'll be able to make multiples, and you'll get your hands on some extra miniatures so that you can make some more models. And let's face it, more models is always a good thing. So yeah, with the Perry Miniatures Civil War artillery set, we're able to, and a few extra 40K parts, bits and pieces laying around, we've been able to construct some Gatling guns. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and those of non-specification, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit that bell notification, do all those fun YouTube things to help us out. I have a Patreon, it's in the description, and it'll be in the end card, and be sure to follow me on Twitter if you want to see what kind of drivel comes out of my mouth on the regular. Sorry, getting a little thirsty there, but yeah, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for the next video. I appreciate every single one of you. Conquistiamo domani.